I honestly can't believe I'm typing this out right now. It feels like I'm in a bad reality show. But here goes. This is the story of how my birthday gift turned into the worst betrayal of my life, and how I ended up giving my family the most unforgettable revenge. So, a bit of background. I'm in my late 20s, living in a house that's been in my family for generations. It's a huge place, too big for just me, but it was handed down to me after my parents passed away a few years ago. I've got a good job, but this house is my pride and joy. My family, though, they never let me forget that they thought they should have been the ones to inherit it. It's like a constant, low-key tension whenever we get together. Fast forward to my birthday last year. I'm expecting a regular celebration. Maybe a cake, a few gifts, and some laughs. But my family? Oh no, they had something special planned that it started with my cousin, Rachel. She's this charming person who never really learned the meaning of boundaries. She shows up with a big smile and a wrapped box, practically jumping up and down. "I got you something amazing," she says, almost out of breath. That I was honestly excited. It was nice of her, even though we didn't always see eye to eye. I unwrapped it, and inside was a notice. I stared at it, trying to figure out what I was holding, until I read the words. "Notice of eviction. You are required to vacate the premises of address within 30 days. Signed, your family." I swear my heart stopped. I looked up, trying to piece everything together, but Rachel's face was already flushed, like she was holding back laughter. My aunt, who was sitting across the room, gave me this pitying smile. "Don't be upset, honey," she said. "We thought you'd be happy to finally have a change of pace. You can move somewhere nicer." Is this some kind of joke?" I asked, barely able to form words. Rachel shrugged, all innocent. "Well, you're an adult now, and we just thought it was time. We've been talking about it for months, and it's really for your own good. You don't need all this space, right? You could sell it and get something more manageable." I was stunned. No one had talked to me about this. No one even gave me a hint that they were unhappy with the house or thought it was mine to keep. I could feel my pulse in my ears, and I looked at everyone in the room. My aunt, uncle, cousins. Each one was nodding like this was normal. Like I should be grateful. I smiled, trying to hold back my anger. "Oh wow, how thoughtful. Really, just perfect." That was when my brother, Jake, chimed in. Jake has always been the chill one, but this time, his voice had a bit of a smirk to it. "Well, the house was always meant to be a family thing, right? Not just yours." That was when I knew I couldn't just let this go. Fast forward a couple of months, and I'm still living in the house, despite the absurd eviction notice. I start planning something, not immediately, but every little detail is bubbling in the back of my mind. How do I get back at them? How do I make them realize what they tried to take from me? Well, I figured it out. A few months later, I get an invite. It's for Rachel's wedding. They thought they could mess with me, huh? So, after I got that invite to Rachel's wedding, I knew exactly what I had to do. This was the perfect opportunity to return the favor. I wasn't going to just show up and act like everything was fine. No. I had plans. Big plans that I spent the next few months pretending to go along with their ridiculous eviction idea. Whenever they brought it up, I'd nod along like I was considering moving. I even started looking at other places to move into, though in reality, I had no intention of leaving my house. I'd be damned if they thought they could push me out that easily. When the wedding date finally rolled around, I showed up at the venue, all smiles, dressed to the nines. Everyone was acting like this was going to be a huge celebration. But I knew better. The whole thing was a spectacle. Rachel had spared no expense, renting this extravagant venue, hiring a big-name DJ, and even getting a luxury catering service. But despite the glitz and glamour, there was this sense of unease in the air. And it wasn't just the fact that my family was trying to be fake nice to me. It was because I knew the real reason I was there. As I walked into the ceremony, I saw them all, my aunt, uncle, cousins, and of course, Rachel, looking absolutely radiant. Everyone was acting like everything was normal, but I could see the tension in the air. The underlying assumption that they had won, that they'd made me feel small, had me on the edge of my seat. But I wasn't going to let them win. I had my plan, and it was about to unfold. The ceremony went off without a hitch, and the reception was filled with loud music and endless laughter. It was the perfect distraction, the perfect chaos. Rachel was busy dancing with her new husband, and my family was caught up in the excitement. That's when I slipped away. I found the seating chart by the door. They had assigned everyone to tables, of course. And there it was, a special note, placed discreetly next to the chart, marked family only. I took a deep breath and headed over to the banquet hall. I wasn't sure if anyone would notice, especially with the way everyone was celebrating. But as soon as I walked in, I noticed Rachel's wedding planner huddling by the entrance, looking at me like she'd seen a ghost. She was about to speak, but I stopped her with a smile. "I'm just here to make sure the seating is right," I said, my voice calm, almost too calm. "I'll just make a small change to the list." I quickly scanned the table assignments, the faces of my relatives. Then, I smiled to myself that I moved myself from the back of the hall where they'd put me to the front, right beside Rachel and her new husband. I even made sure to leave the note, just like they'd left it for me. Only this time, it was a special one for them. The rest of the night was pure magic. I had a drink in hand, and Rachel was so busy posing for pictures with her guests that she didn't even notice what I'd done. But when she finally did, when she saw me sitting at her head table, her eyes went wide, her smile froze. "What are you doing here?" she hissed under her breath, her voice sharp. "Oh, just enjoying the celebration," I said, savoring every word. "Just like you thought I should enjoy my birthday gift." I didn't even look her in the eye, just casually twirling my drink. The wedding planner came over to try to move me back to my original spot, but I wasn't budging. Family only didn't apply to me, clearly. After all, I was family too, right? Rachel, looking more irritated by the second, eventually stormed off to her parents. But that wasn't the best part. Oh no. The best part was when I watched her parents, especially her mom, who had been the most vocal about me needing to leave the house, look around the room, clearly confused as to why there was a seat missing. I smiled. The tables were about to turn. By the end of the night, Rachel's attitude had gone from angry to downright snippy. I could see it in her face. She knew something wasn't right. But here's the kicker. Just before she could come over to confront me again, I overheard her and her new husband talking. "I can't believe she pulled this stunt at my wedding," Rachel was saying, her voice shaky. "How dare she, after everything we've done for her?" Her husband, looking a little less than thrilled, tried to calm her down. "Look, Rachel, it's just a wedding. Let it go." But Rachel wasn't letting it go. She was fuming, and I could see the wheels turning in her head. Whatever plan she had to get back at me was about to be set in motion, but I wasn't worried. All right, I can hear you. Where's the revenge? Trust me, it's coming. But let me set the scene for the final twist, because that's where it really gets sweet. So, after Rachel lost her mind at the wedding, I could tell she was plotting something. She kept throwing little passive-aggressive comments my way, trying to get under my skin. But I wasn't biting. I knew she was desperate to get back at me, but what she didn't know was that I had already been preparing for the next move. A few weeks later, after the wedding chaos died down, Rachel called me. I knew this was it. She was about to lay it all out, probably blaming me for ruining her big day or something. But no. What she said next made me almost drop my phone. "You know, you've really hurt me," she started. "All drama and fake hurt feelings. I thought you were family, but instead, you pulled that stunt at my wedding. And now, you're still refusing to leave the house. You're making everyone uncomfortable, and I'm going to do something about it." I almost laughed in her face. She had the audacity to lecture me about family after what she and the rest of my relatives had tried to pull. But instead of getting defensive, I stayed calm. "Wow, Rachel, I'm really sorry you feel that way," I said, laying it on thick with the sarcasm. "I guess we all need to make sacrifices for family, huh?" She didn't catch it. Instead, she went on about how I was ruining the family reputation by holding on to the house. "You're just so selfish, it's unbelievable," she ranted. "I'm going to get everyone on my side, and we're going to fix this once and for all." At that moment, I realized something. She had no idea what was coming. A few weeks after that phone call, Rachel started talking about a family meeting, where she wanted to discuss resolving the situation about the house. I'd already expected this. What I hadn't expected was the firestorm that followed. She started texting everyone in the family, telling them that I was being unreasonable and selfish and that it was time for me to do the right thing. She even pulled out the "You're making mom and dad proud" card that I let her go ahead with it all. Why? Because I had already set the stage. The day of the family meeting arrived, and I showed up to the house like it was any other Sunday. I knew they'd all be there, my aunt and uncle, cousins, Rachel, and of course, the surprise guest I'd invited. The real estate agent. I watched them file in one by one, expecting to see the usual mix of smug and angry faces. But when Rachel walked in and saw the real estate agent, her jaw nearly hit the floor. "You invited him?" she stammered, pointing at the agent. "Yeah," I said, my voice completely calm. I thought it'd be useful to have someone here who knows the real value of this place. You know, just in case we want to talk about selling. Rachel's face turned pale. My cousins and aunt looked around, confused. I could see the realization creeping in. This was a big deal. You can't be serious, Rachel hissed, her voice shaking with anger. You're really going to sell it? This house was supposed to be ours. I smiled. Well, Rachel, maybe you can buy it. You know, since you're so keen on making decisions about what's best for me. It didn't take long for the entire family to unravel. Everyone started pointing fingers, demanding to know why I was making decisions without consulting them. But here's the thing. Rachel had gone too far. She thought she could push me out, control me, but now she was realizing she was the one in danger of losing everything. As they bickered, I turned to the real estate agent and said, how much would this place go for in today's market? With the location, the history, and all the renovations I've made? The agent didn't hesitate. Easily a couple of million, maybe more, depending on the buyer. Rachel froze. The rest of the family was dead silent. It was like the air had been sucked out of the room. I leaned back in my chair, looking around at all of them, and said, so, if anyone wants to talk about taking the house off my hands, now's the time. Otherwise, I'll be listing it and moving on. I'd suggest you start working on your own plans. The family meeting dissolved into chaos. Rachel was furious, shouting at me, but I didn't care. I'd put her in a position where she had to either back down or face the reality of losing everything. So, yeah, the revenge is real, but the best part? This is only the beginning. After the family meeting, things got really tense. Rachel was absolutely furious. No surprise there. But the rest of the family? They didn't know what to do. The shock was still settling in. No one thought I would actually go through with my threat of selling the house. Rachel tried to play the victim card. You can't just throw the family out of this house, she said, her voice cracking with frustration. I shrugged, calm as ever. Guess I'll just let it sit on the market, I replied, taking my time with the words. We'll see what happens. And let me tell you, that made Rachel lose it. She stormed out of the room, shouting over her shoulder, you'll regret this, just wait. But I wasn't done yet. The next day, I got bombarded with calls from extended family members. Aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone trying to talk me down. They weren't asking me to stay in the house. They were just telling me that I should sell it to Rachel. They kept going on and on about keeping the family together and how Rachel deserved it. But here's the thing. None of them cared about me. They cared about what they could get out of this. And now that I had the upper hand, they were all scrambling to try and turn things back around. Then, my mom's sister, Aunt Carol, called. She had always been the one to stir the pot between me and Rachel, and I wasn't shocked when she started her usual guilt trip. Look, I understand you're upset, but Rachel's in tears over this. You can't really go through with selling the house, can you? She said, her voice thick with feigned concern. I laughed bitterly. I'm not trying to hurt anyone. I'm just done being treated like a doormat, Aunt Carol. She tried the usual lines. But this isn't just about you. You can't destroy the family like this. I let the words sink in before I snapped back. Funny how no one cared when I was the one getting kicked around. Now that I'm standing my ground, suddenly I'm the bad guy. There was silence on the other end for a moment before she sighed. This isn't what your parents would have wanted. I froze. The mention of my parents, gone for years now, stung. They never once would have let Rachel get away with this kind of manipulation, and they definitely wouldn't have wanted this kind of mess. But now it was clear. Aunt Carol and the rest of the family were just looking for an easy way to get Rachel what she wanted. I was done being the nice one. Later that week, Rachel showed up unannounced, her face twisted with rage. I'm not going to let you sell the house, she yelled as soon as I opened the door. Her eyes were wild. Like she thought she could intimidate me into backing down. I raised an eyebrow. And how do you plan to stop me? She stepped forward, practically shaking with fury. I'll do whatever it takes. You think you can just throw me out like that? Like I'm some stranger? I crossed my arms. You're not getting the house, Rachel. Not now, not ever. She started crying, but it wasn't real. It was that manipulation, the kind where she wanted me to feel sorry for her. But I wasn't falling for it this time. Rachel, if you think I'm going to hand over this house because you're upset, you've lost your mind, I said coldly. I'm not your punching bag anymore. She stood there, her eyes narrowed, before she let out a snarl. You'll regret this. You don't know what I can do. Try me, I said, closing the door in her face. But that wasn't the end of it. The next day, I got a call from a lawyer. Rachel had hired him to challenge the house's ownership, claiming that it rightfully belonged to her. The lawyer tried to convince me that my parents had left her the house in their will, which was a lie, considering they had no such will. I laughed when I heard it. This was just another attempt to control me, to use legal threats to wear me down, so I decided to escalate things. If Rachel thought she could manipulate me with empty threats, I was going to make her pay for underestimating me. At this point, the situation was boiling over, and there was no going back. But Rachel wasn't done yet. She still thought she could turn the family against me by playing the "I'm the real victim" card. But I was about to show her that I had a few tricks left up my sleeve. She started telling everyone that I was trying to steal the house from her, that I was heartless and selfish, and that I was somehow responsible for all the chaos. Her words were poison, and people in the family were starting to believe it. That's when I realized that the house wasn't the only thing at stake here. Rachel wanted the family's loyalty. She wanted control of everything, and she thought she could win it by manipulating everyone around her. She wasn't just trying to get the house. She wanted to break me, break my connection with everyone. But I wasn't about to let that happen. I had a plan, and it was time to put it into motion. I started gathering everything: emails, texts, and recordings of her numerous threats and manipulations over the years. The things she had said, the lies she had spread, all of it. I was going to use her own words against her. I wasn't going to let her play the victim any longer. I printed everything out, neatly organized it in a folder, and prepared for the next step. This was it. The moment I had been waiting for. One day, I invited a few family members over for dinner. Just a small gathering, nothing too flashy. I knew Rachel would be there, and I knew exactly how to handle it. We were all sitting around the table, chatting about nothing in particular, when I casually slid the folder across the table toward Rachel. Her eyes flicked to it, and I could see her instantly tense up. "What's this?" she asked, feigning innocence. "Oh, just a little something I wanted to share," I said with a calm smile. "You know, all the times you've threatened me, lied about me, and tried to manipulate the family. Thought it was time for everyone to hear your true colors." Rachel's face went pale. She shifted in her seat, trying to recover, but I could see the panic creeping in. She knew what was in that folder, and she knew what was coming. One by one, I started reading the messages, the conversations, the threats she had made. I laid out everything for everyone to hear. The way she tried to frame me, her lies about our parents' will, how she had manipulated the family into believing I was the villain. I watched as Rachel's composure started to crack. Her mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. Her eyes darted around the room, desperately seeking someone to back her up, but all she saw were eyes. Family members who were finally starting to see the truth. I could feel the weight lifting off my shoulders as I exposed her for who she really was. The truth was finally out. No more lies, no more manipulation. Just Rachel, standing there with nothing to hide behind. And then, finally, one of our aunts spoke up. "Rachel, I can't believe you would do this to your own family." The room went silent. The tension was thick, and I could almost hear the gears turning in Rachel's head as she tried to salvage what little dignity she had left. But it was too late. The damage was done. Rachel stood there, speechless. I looked her in the eyes and gave her a small, satisfied smile. "I hope you learned something today, Rachel. You can't manipulate people forever. Sooner or later, the truth comes out." And just like that, I turned and walked away, leaving her to deal with the fallout. I didn't need to say another word. I had one. The family finally saw Rachel for what she truly was, a manipulative, entitled liar. My name was cleared, and my relationship with everyone in the family was stronger than ever. Rachel, on the other hand, was left to deal with the consequences of her actions. Her influence in the family was shattered, and the people who once believed her now knew the truth. As for the house, I decided it was time to put the past behind me for good. I sold it, letting go of the last piece of the mess she created. But I didn't need the house to feel victorious. The real victory was knowing I'd exposed her for who she truly was, and that I'd finally taken control of my life again. Sweet revenge? You bet.